In the last episode, we started producing steel and set up the military science pack production. Today, we'll be going over unlocking and producing the chemical science packs. This can prove quite intimidating for new players, but don't worry, it looks more complicated than it is. Let's begin. First, there's a lot of research to be done. Let's unlock automation 2. This gives us access to better assembling machines that can handle fluid ingredients and have a faster crafting speed, but at the cost of higher power consumption. We can research them and add them to our make everything, but we won't be using them in a while. Next, we need to research fluid handling. The only important thing here are the storage tanks and pumps. It will also allow us to store fluids in barrels so that we can move them around with belts, but there is no situation that I can think of where you'd ever want to do that, so you can totally ignore these barrels for now. Then we need to research oil processing. This will allow us to mine the oil. You can find oil on your map as crude oil indicated with the purple dots. You will immediately notice that the patches richness is indicated percentage wise and not in numbers. That is because as you mine it, the richness will go down until it eventually reaches 1% and it will never run out. At that point you can still mine it, but it's going to be very slow. Anyways, just keep in mind that the oil patches are basically infinite. We'll also be able to use the oil refineries and chemical plants to process the oil. Finally, we'll also be using the components from the circuit network research to set up conditions and add logic gates to our base. This allows you to do some really cool stuff, which we'll touch on in today's episode. Now that all the research is done, you can add all the unlocked items to your make everything. Alright then. We are now going to go ahead and set up the outpost at the crude oil patch, but before we go out, let's make sure to bring in the pump jacks with us, a lot of pipes, some turrets for defense and also some ammunition. And we can now use our car to go there faster. And oh, here's a tip also, by the way. I'm gonna set up these power poles and you can hold and drag those around whilst climbing into your car to place them down if you have to go a bit farther away. Okay, so equip the pump jacks and you will see that it also highlights where you can place them. I try to always point the arrows towards a center zone. And now we have to connect all of the pipes together. I'm going to be using these underground pipes here that are very useful in this situation. Now these need to be connected to a power source. So let's make sure everything is connected. We can also add a few lights. Don't forget to place down a radar, and let's add some turrets for defense. Now let's have a look at the map. So we have cleared out this area, and if the buyers are coming from down here, they are probably going to come to our base first. So the most probable place they are going to come from is up here. So I'm going to set up just a few turrets over in this northeast corner. Okay, now I think the best thing for me to do is to simply take this pipe and bring it back in the straightest line possible back to the base. Now you could also use trains for this, but since this patch is relatively close to my base, I'm not even going to bother setting up trains for now. I'm going to move this power line out of the way, and we are going to use this space here to set up our oil production. So let's leave some space, and we are going to use those storage tanks to put our oil inside. So let's leave some space. I'm going to have 4 tanks. Okay, and this will be my first tank. So in when it comes to fluid, it is better to use pumps to direct your fluid into certain directions. Every pump has a direction, but it does need to be connected to a power source. So let's connect this up. Okay, now this tank is slowly going to fill up to max capacity. It can contain up to 25,000 units of oil, which is quite a significant amount. Now, let's continue. Oh, if you have some trees to clear, you can always use your grenades. And because we are going to use them, let's also increase the explosive potential of the grenades. Okay, now to process the oil, we are going to use the oil refineries, and the way I'd like to set them up is this way. Actually, this would be preferable. Okay, let's set the recipe. Now, when you first unlock the oil processing, you just have access to the basic oil processing. So let's set up the recipe inside, and now the oil refinery has 2 inputs and 3 outputs, but with the first recipe that we have access to, we can only use 1 input and 1 output. Later on, we'll be bringing in water into the refinery to get access to heavy and light oil. But for now, this is what we are going to do. So because we have to connect all those inputs, if we were to put all the refineries close together, we wouldn't be able to connect everything properly. So we are going to want to leave 1 gap of space between each refinery. And now I'm going to connect all the inputs together. It seems to always be nighttime in my world. Alright. And we can also, it's not really required, but I'm going to use a pump here so that I can clearly indicate in which direction my liquids are flowing. And you can see that the oil refineries are going to kick in. Now the liquid is only going to flow for as long as there is space to put it in. So since we have the pipes here at the end, all the petroleum gas that is being produced here is being placed into the pipes, but as soon as the pipe storage runs out, the oil refineries are going to stop. So what we want to do for now is put all this oil into a storage tank. And now the petroleum is filling up this tank. Okay, so let's have a look at the recipe. Oh, and we haven't unlocked it just yet. Oh yeah, we need to unlock the sulfur processing and the plastics first. So let's go ahead and start those researches, and let's have a look at the recipe for the chemical science pack, because this is what we are going to want to go for. So first of all, we need sulfur, which is being processed here, and sulfur is made out of petroleum and water, so pretty simple to do. We can already begin designing the next branch of our base. And it's also made in a chemical plant. So we're going to leave some more space over here, and we are going to use the chemical plants. I'm going to leave a lot of space here. This should be enough to make. Oh, we have to wait for the recipe, right? Okay, and also we can immediately start researching the plastic too, because we are going to need this as well. Okay, so we can now set up the recipe here for sulfur. This is why you need so many pipes for the oil. It's actually insane. Alright, and now let's connect this to the water line. Alright, so let's have a look at the recipe again. So we are making sulfur, which is fine. Engines we can also produce quite easily. So let's have a look at the advanced circuits. Now the advanced circuits are a bit more tricky. Let's have a look at the recipe. Here they are. So they do require plastic bars, copper cable and electronic circuits. So let's have a look at the plastic bars, which we are currently researching. Plastic bars, again, quite easy to make, just requires some coal and some petroleum gas. Okay, now I could set up my advanced electronic circuits branch over here, but looking at the space that we have, it might be better to put it down this way. So instead of having this plastic bar go this way, it's actually gonna go both ways. Alright then, so let's use this space over here to set up our next branch, which will be dedicated to the construction of the advanced circuits. Now let's go over the recipe together. So the first things we are going to notice is that it has a long crafting time of 6 seconds. Now we don't need a lot of plastic bars and a lot of electronic circuits, so we could probably put those on the same belt, and so it's gonna have one belt going this way, which will be shared between the electronic circuits and the plastic. And now we do need copper cables, so we need 4 copper cables every 6 seconds. So this machine is going to produce copper cables, and we can produce 2 every half a second, which means we are producing 4 every second. And since we need 4 every 6 seconds, one copper cable assembling machine will be able to supply 6 advanced circuits assembling machines. Now we can put our power poles here in between, and we'll have one belt for the copper cables, and we can just copy this over here, and this will be the design. Okay, now because this branch is working at a particularly slow speed, we can just copy this entire design and just stack it right one after the other, which is pretty neat. Alright, good. Now that we have the electronic circuits also being produced, we should have everything we need to start making the chemicals science packs. So let's leave even more space over here. This goes here, so let's leave a bit of space. And now let's go over the chemical science pack recipe. Now it has a very long crafting time, 24 seconds, and we craft 2 every time. So 24 divided by 2 equals 12. So we are going to have 12 assembly machines here in a row to produce the blue science packs. That is 9, 10, 11, 12. It's gonna have one input, an output, and another line of inputs. And we already know that this line will be used, half of the line will be used for the advanced circuits. As you can see, we need to add more green circuits production here on the line as well, because we don't produce quite enough to supply our base at the moment. So the first 2 things we can do is add a balancing system over here. Let's do something like that. So the way it works is we use a splitter. I've shown this before, but I can show it again. Half of the belt is going to go on the left side and half on the right side, and this will balance the whole system. And now we can just keep extending this over this way. Or we could also upgrade these to the advanced assembly machines, because those are going to craft at a faster rate. As you can see, it has a crafting speed of 0.75, whereas these craft at a 0.5 crafting speed. Okay, this will help a bit with the advanced circuits production. Let's get back to the blue science packs. Okay, now the only thing missing to this branch is the engine units, and we need 2 every second. Alright then, so engines now. Let's leave some space. We need 2 every second, and they have a crafting time of 10 seconds, so we need 20 machines. 8, 9, 10, and it would actually make a lot of sense, since we need a lot of pipes, to set these up for the pipe production. Okay, I'm going to research the cliffs explosives immediately. Those explosives can be used to remove the cliffs. So let's go ahead and start the research. It's not going to take too long, but in the meantime, we can just move those belts a bit further down, and it's just going to work fine for us for now. So let's do something like that. This is just a temporary solution until we get to remove those cliffs, and yeah. And there you go. So we are now producing the engines that are being fed into the chemical science packs, which are being produced and put onto this half of the belt. So we now just need to connect this belt to this belt over here, and we'll be able to research the chemical science pack. Alright, so let's clear up this mess over here. So we need to make the cliff explosives, and for those we need grenades, we need barrels, and we need explosives. So let's look at the recipe for explosives again, and you have to be careful here. Those have to be made in a chemical plant with coal, sulfur, and water. We have coal, we have sulfur. So let's add a small factory here. And there we go, we can now use the cliffs explosives to remove any cliffs that are blocking our way. I usually keep 2 stacks of those on my inventory at all time. They are pretty handy, as you can see. So we can now fix our main bus system, move all this around. Voila, perfect. Alright guys, so I hope you enjoyed watching this episode. I have to apologize because I told you that we were going to touch on the circuit network, but there's just no time in today's episode, so we'll have to leave it for a later one. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I'll see you soon in the next one.